Three thieves, three impossible targets, three stories that prove Canadian criminals don't think small. Today, the Skylight Caper, the Gemstar Diamond Heist, and Gerald Blanchard's Royal Diamond. Three completely different methods, three completely different eras. One thing connecting them all. None of them should have worked. This is True North Heists, and today we're going deeper than usual. Three stories, three audacious crimes, the details that 60 seconds never had time for. Let's get into it. Just after midnight on September 4th, 1972, a man in a ski mask climbed a tree beside the Montreal Museum of Fine Arts. He wasn't rushing. He had steel picks attached to his boots, the kind used by telephone utility workers, and he climbed that tree like he had done it 100 times. Once on the roof, he lowered a ladder down to two of his accomplices waiting below. They had a plan nobody had thought to guard against. The museum's skylight was under repair that weekend. The alarm for that particular window had been deactivated. The three men slid down 15 meters of rope into the darkness of Canada's most prestigious art museum, found three security guards on duty, and tied them up. Then they went to work. Here's the scale of what they took. 18 paintings came off the wall. A rare Rembrandt landscape, works by Breuil, Rubens, Gainsborough, Delacroix, masterpieces that had taken decades to acquire. Then they stripped the display cases. 39 figurines and pieces of jewellery on top of everything else. They carried it all through the skylight, ran down Sherbrooke Street, and were never seen again. The Rembrandt alone would have been worth $20 million by 2017. Within weeks, the thieves reached out and made contact. A man with a European accent called the museum and directed a staff member to a payphone near McGill University. On the ground, a nearby discarded cigarette package. Inside it, a stolen pendant, returned as a gesture of good faith. They communicated by phone and mail, demanding $500,000 for the return of everything. A brown envelope arrived in October, postmarked Port of Montreal. The same port controlled by the West End Gang, Montreal's most powerful Irish crime organization. Police set up a sting. The thieves went quiet. The $500,000 was never paid. The paintings were never returned. Only 2 items from that night have ever been recovered. The Rembrandt has not been seen in over 50 years. Do you think the paintings are hidden away somewhere? Or were they destroyed? The Skylight Caper thieves were never identified. 35 years later, on a quiet street in Toronto, a different crew was about to prove that patience is the most dangerous weapon of all. On a Saturday evening in 2007, the owner of Gemstar Jewelers at Finch Avenue and Dufferin Street in Toronto locked up and went home for the weekend. He set the alarm, he closed the vaults. He had no idea what was already in motion. The thieves didn't even wait for dark. Before he arrived Monday morning, everything was gone. These weren't smash and grab robbers. They didn't rush. They didn't wave guns. Police would later describe the Gemstar heist as one of the most methodical in Toronto's history. Here's exactly what they did. They found the telephone junction box outside of the building. They cut the phone lines. The alarm was now completely silent. It couldn't reach anyone even if triggered. Then they walked in. They worked through the night, quietly, carefully, with the kind of patience that comes from months of planning. 2 steel vaults stood between them and their diamonds. They cut through both. Police described the thieves as entering freely and working cleanly, taking several hours to cut open the vaults and remove a haul of cut and uncut diamonds. The owner arrived Monday morning to an empty store. Hundreds of diamonds in all sizes, carats, and qualities, simply gone. Police believe it may have been the biggest gem theft in Canadian history, with the haul estimated at $5 to $6 million. They left behind key forensic evidence. Police investigated for years. Nobody was ever arrested. The diamonds are somewhere. Someone sold them. Someone bought them. And nobody has ever said a word. If you had 6 million in loose diamonds, what would you do with them? The Gemstar thieves were never identified. But our final story today is about a man who was, eventually. And the detail that cracked it open isn't what anyone expected. 3 days before the theft, a Canadian tourist visited Schönbrunn Palace in Vienna with his wife and father-in-law. They looked like any other family on holiday. He was filming the entire layout on a hidden camera. Gerald Blanchard from Winnipeg, Manitoba, had already had a replica of the Sissy star made, a diamond and pearl brooch that once belonged to Empress Elizabeth of Austria, one of the most famous jewels in Europe. He knew exactly where it was. He knew exactly how long he had. He made the swap, rejoined his family, flew home to Canada. The theft wasn't discovered for 2 weeks. Austria had no suspects, no leads, no idea where their national treasure had gone. It was in a wall in a grandmother's house in Winnipeg. Here's what nobody knew about Gerald Blanchard. While Austrian investigators puzzled over how their jewel had vanished, Blanchard was running one of the most sophisticated criminal operations in Canadian history. Bank robberies, ATM fraud, high-tech schemes that left police baffled across 3 countries. In 2004, he monitored a brand new CIBC branch in Winnipeg, still under construction, studied it for months, then drained $510,000 from its ATMs the night before the grand opening. That robbery opened up this RCMP investigation that would eventually bring him down. Detective traced the getaway vehicle rented under an alias, built a case for 2 years, finally arrested Blanchard in Cairo in November 2006. He faced 54 charges, a maximum sentence of 164 years. In exchange for pleading guilty to 16 of them, he offered to give back the Sissy star. Police found it exactly where he said, inside the wall at his grandma's house. As part of the deal, none of his accomplices went to prison. Blanchard never named a single one of them. He was the only one who served time. At sentencing, Winnipeg Police Inspector Tom Legg stood outside the courthouse and said, "He's charming and uncommonly gifted. He's not of the same ilk as a lot of the other criminals we normally deal with." Gerald Blanchard was sentenced to 8 years. The Austrian government got their jewel back. Canada got one of its most fascinating criminals, and a story nobody was going to forget. Was Gerald Blanchard a genius, a thief, or both? Tell us below. 3 stories. 3 completely different approaches to the same impossible question. How do you take something priceless and disappear? The Skylight caper thieves climbed a tree in the middle of the night, rappelled into Canada's greatest museum, and walked out with 18 masterpieces. The Rembrandt still hasn't been seen in over 50 years. The Gemstar thieves cut the phone lines, cut through 2 steel vaults, and vanished with 6 million in loose diamonds. They were never identified. The diamonds are still out there. Gerald Blanchard flew to Vienna, filmed the layout 3 days before the theft, swapped a royal diamond for a gift shop replica, then hid it in his grandma's basement for 9 years while robbing banks across Canada. He was the only one who went to prison. His accomplices walked free. 3 Canadians, 3 audacious crimes, and the uncomfortable truth is 2 of these 3 got away with it completely. If these stories kept you watching, we release a new short Canadian crime story every single weekday and a brand new long-form episode every week. 2 ways to get your Canadian true crime fix. Please subscribe so you don't miss either one. This was True North Heists. because Canada's history deserves to be told.